Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a Screenwriter's Rant on Scales, a very artsy movie, and I think it's called a visually stunning feminist parable set in a dystopian landscape. It follows the story of a strong-willed young girl, Hayat, whose poor fishing village is governed by a dark tradition. Every family must give one daughter to the mermaid-like sea creatures who inhabit the waters to ensure the village can otherwise continue their fishing expeditions. When Hayat's father refuses, the girl becomes a pariah, considered a curse by the village, and urged to sacrifice herself. But Hayat has her own ideas about her destiny. Weird. So it's kind of like a mermaid movie, only very dark. It's also in black and white. It's got a bunch of these. So you know it's fancy. You know it's a fancy a movie when it has all this stuff. Best International Film, Saudi Arabia's official submission. So it's very interesting that it's a Saudi Arabian movie because they tend to be pretty base. So to call this a feminist movie is very interesting. It's very interesting that they would call it a feminist movie, that there are any feminists at all in Saudi Arabia. I mean, because their culture is kind of very based, like, what does that look like? You know? I can't tell much from this other than it kind of looks like the description. You know, it's definitely a parable. It takes place in ancient times. You know, you can see it's very ancient looking. It's got a good look to it, I'll give you that. You know, they're building stuff here right on the water, and apparently there's some mermaid involved, but like, they call it scales, like she has scales, right? Like her legs get wet and you can see the scales on her. So is she part mermaid? I don't really get it. It looks very esoteric. It's subtitled. They seem awfully bent. Here's Hollywood Reporter. Seem awfully bent on pushing this movie. That's why I'm very suspicious of it. Maybe it's good. Sci-Fi Now. But I'm very suspicious of any movie that would call it a feminist anything. You added the word feminist, I'm pretty much going to go, oh, no. That sounds like it's going to be very preachy. It sounds like it's going to be woke, especially these days. You know, 20 years ago, I might not have had that reaction because I might have said, oh, feminist, well, I just assume it's a female character and a strong, empowered woman, blah, blah, blah. Now, when you say it, you're talking about intersectional feminism. So that's why I'm kind of shocked that, you know, you would say this is a Saudi Arabian movie. You know, is this, I mean, it seems like all the names are from Saudi Arabia. Written and directed by Shahad Amin. So I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this movie. I reviewed some Saudi Arabian movies, so I'd be interested to know if there are any Saudi Arabian fans left out there. You know, what are you hearing anything about this movie, or is this sort of like only an American thing? Right? Is this like a Saudi movie that's exported to America because like no one in Saudi Arabia saw it, or is this a real thing? What's the deal here? If I had to guess, so the movie's all about, you know, they're going to sacrifice this girl, right? So the first act, they establish all that, and then she doesn't want to sacrifice herself, or the father won't. So they make a stand. They make her a pariah of the village. Bad things start to happen. I guess the mermaid attacks them, or attacks the ships, and then they can't make any, you know, headway. I don't, you know, and then it probably ends with them trying to throw her into the sea, I would guess. And her, you know, since this is focused on the girl, I would imagine it ends with her not being thrown to the sea or becoming the new mermaid. I don't really understand it. So, hard to say. Hard to say in a movie like this because it's trying hard to buck conventions. So it won't follow, it may not even follow a 3-act structure. Which I don't recommend. I don't recommend because, especially with young screenwriters, they say, oh, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like someone who really is steeped in the 3-act structure, they can make an attempt to not follow it and possibly succeed because they know it so well and they kind of know how to maybe buttress the acts in another way that would make sense. But, you know, I don't recommend for especially young writers to ignore the 3-act structure. And I'm not even saying that this necessarily does that. It could, because it is a fancy art house film that may or may not be good. But it looks like a drag, so I don't know if I would say it. Probably not. Maybe if I was super, you know, I heard some great things about it and I was like, oh, I got to see some arty, crazy thing and I want to see something different. Maybe I would go see it. But Scales, it's called. I don't know when it comes out. I assume it's out sometime this year, sometime this summer or fall. Probably be in an art house movie theater near you. Right, Joan? Check out our other videos on Bitchute and Rumble. We have a Hollywood hot take and a news blast today. Bitchute and Rumble, the place to go to see our other 2 videos and all the videos.